Hey guys, it's Tom here and I'm back with another Hitfilm tutorial, and today we're going to be covering keyframing. Now what keyframing allows you to do is create animations within Hitfilm, whether that be on text, images or transitions. Now you can actually do keyframing from within the main editor here, but you get much more control and visibility doing it within a composite shot. So that's the first thing we're going to do now. So if we just create a new composite shot here, you can call this whatever you want, change the time, etc. I'm just going to leave it as it is for now. So let's, for example, try this on some text. So let's just say hello. Make this a bit bigger. Okay. So what we're going to do is, if we click on this little drop down here, we've got a load of other options that open up to us. Now the main one we're going to want to use for animations is transform, and this will allow us to do a number of things. So from fading the text in, to moving it, to enlarging it, and you can really get creative with this. When you understand how it works, you can really start to do different things with it, different kinds of animations. So if you wanted to fade the text in, or have it fly onto the screen, or maybe just have it enlarge and then slowly fade out. So play about with this and see what kind of things you can come up with. So to start with, let's take this bit of text off the screen, and then you'll see the position here has changed. And you'll notice the timeline is set right to the beginning here. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on this little button here to set a keyframe point right in this position at the beginning of the clip. And then what we can do is we can actually drag this along. So you notice this is on the horizontal axis at the moment. This one's for the vertical axis. So if we drag this across, we can actually bring this text into the center of the screen. So we're going to leave it here for now, and what we'll do is we'll zoom into the timeline a bit. Okay, so let's say we want to bring this text in quite quickly, so we might say, I don't know, about half a second or so, maybe about here. And what we'll then do is we'll drag this across to the middle of the screen, and what you'll see happening is there's an animation line that comes up here showing that's the path that this text or image or whatever it might be is going to go across. We can then see, if we drag along the timeline, we can then see that transitioning across. And then if you want to, you can also add a bit of motion blur on it as well, just to make it look really neat. So if you click this button here, this actually activates motion blur on the animation. So if we now go back to the editor, just to see how it looks, go to media, drag our composite shot onto the clip here. We might need to change the colour actually, because I've got a white background. So let's just change this. So we just change that to black. And then if we play this, it has a ripple effect on the world around us. So you can see that text flies in now. Now if we just move that a bit, because at the moment it's flying right over my head, so let's play that again. Interaction we have every day has a ripple effect. And there you go. So now we've got that bit done, we can then bring the text back in. So if we just count how many frames along that is, so 1, 2, 3, 1. So if we bring that here, I think it's about there. And then what we'll do is we'll just bring this back out. So that will go quite quick. But the nice thing you can do with keyframing is, once you've set these keyframes up, you can just manually adjust them by clicking on them here, and you can just move them to your liking. So if it's too soon or too slow, too fast, you can play about with them. So let's just see how that looks now. We have every day has a ripple effect on the... Yeah, so that's going to be way too quick, but you get the idea. So you can play about with this, leave it out for a bit longer. What you'll also find as well though if we spread these two out, what that will now do is that's just going to make it go back in more slowly. So we need to create another keyframe to keep it in the same position until we're about 2 frames away. So let's say about here. So what we'll do is if you double click on this one, we can actually copy the position of this keyframe, set another one here, and then that just tells it that we want it to stay in this position between these 2 points, and then it can fly back out. So if we play that back now, hopefully it doesn't run too slow. Every day has a ripple effect on the world around. There you go. So you notice now it actually stays on there for a little bit before flying back out. And then another thing you could do to maybe bring in an animation, or whether it be a bit of reference material, whether it want to be a little image you want to bring up on the screen, you can even fade it in as well. So if we started off, so let's just delete these, we'll bring it back into center here, or we'll bring it about here actually. And then if we set a keyframe at the beginning of the opacity, and then we just turn that down to 0, and then if we just set it to the 1 second point, so we're just going to gradually fade in the text here. So then if we drag on the opacity percentage, we'll just increase that. And what that will do is that will basically gradually increase that capacity over this time frame to 100%. So obviously the longer or the further distance between these 2 keyframes, the longer it's going to take to build that opacity up. And it's the same with any of these. So if you're changing the position, the further away the 2 keyframe points, the longer it's going to take to have that transition. So it's worth just zooming in on the timeline and going into the finer details if you want to make quick adjustments. So if we see how that looks, every day has a ripple. You'll see that just fades in there. So that's it for this one, guys. I really hope that video helps. It gives you a bit of an idea of how keyframes look. Something well worth playing about with, just so you can experiment with different animations, different text transitions and appearance. There's all sorts of fancy stuff you can do. I'm going to cover a few more effects in some of my next videos, and I'll speak to you guys soon.